What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Stout and Out Show, your one-stop shop for all things MMA bets, breakdowns, and predictions. On deck for today's show, we have UFC Fight Night Macau, aka UFC Fight Night 277. Main event's going to be Deiveson Figueiredo taking on Xiong Yadong in a bantamweight bout. But before we get into that, we're going to break down every single fight, all the way from the prelims to the main card. And if you like what you're seeing, again, please like, comment, and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into it, boys. All right, our first fight of the night is going to be Loma Lookboonmee taking on Jaqueline Amorim in a strawweight bout. This is a pick'em right off the gate. Lookboonmee 7-3 in the UFC. She's coming off a unanimous decision loss to Alexia Theriana that happened back in September. But on to the plus side. All right, for Lookboonmee, she's got really good world-class Muay Thai. Really good with her elbows and knees in the clinch. She's got about a 65% striking accuracy. Good, consistent, high output. Really likes to utilize her leg kicks. If you watch her previous fights, she likes to break down her opponent's base by just beating the living shit out of her opponent's legs, right? Really good, outstanding gas tank, and actually throughout her fight, she's never been finished before. Negative side, on the other hand, she constantly gets exploited on the ground, okay? She gave up five takedowns to 11 attempts to Theriana. She spent about 10 minutes on her back and really got a shutout loss. I think it was like 30-27. Once she's taken down, she really struggles from her back to create offense. And going throughout her 10-fight record on the UFC, she's only got about one finish, okay? She is really heavily reliant on decision wins. And as we know, that can really create a margin of error. If judges don't see a lot of damage being done, obviously it's not going to go her way. And if her opponents have strong wrestling pedigrees, more often than not, we're betting against her. Path to victory, as I see for her, is, obviously, let's keep it standing at all costs and target the legs and the body of Jaqueline Amorim. We really want to make sure we can slow her down and keep her at range. And then just any time that she tries to take us down, we are going to punish her takedown attempts. All right, Jaqueline Amorim, on the other hand, she's coming off a unanimous decision loss against Mizuki Inoue that happened in October. For Amorim, she's a second-degree black belt, 8 professional wins by submission. Okay, she's really good at chaining attempts for her submissions, whether it's rear naked chokes, triangles, or knee bars. She gets about 4.8 attempts per 15 minutes, man. It's one of the highest in the divisions as it comes to strawweight. She's really good when it gets submission attempts. She averages about 2 takedowns a fight. Good, really grappling focused base, which is pretty much Lookboonmee's kryptonite. 80% of her wins come by stoppage. Once she establishes top positions, she's really a big constant threat from the top. She's really got really good use of her hips, and she just doesn't want to control you when she's on top. She wants to get that finish. As I mentioned, second degree black belt, and she can also give some good offense from the bottom as well. Okay. She almost had Mizuki Inoue in an armbar in their last fight. I mean, that's kind of, other knock on her is if her opponent is an elite grappler as well, she's going to struggle to find the submission, all right? Mizuki was able to reverse her a couple positions, be able to get some sweeps, but another knock on her, she absorbs about 1.3, 1.4 strikes per minute, and she's only got a 64% striking defense. So if Lookboonmee's looking to hit her, she's gonna tee off some solid shots. But again, it's not going to be every time. But her defense is kind of left to be questioned. She's not really good against volume strikers. Really looks like uncomfortable on the feet. Her striking's pretty much, it's almost good enough to get you to the ground. She's not really looking to take you out there. And like I said, against elite grapplers, Mizuki, while she threatened her with submissions a couple times, she just couldn't secure the finish. So if you can hold your own against the ground, you can make it work. Here at Stout now, we're going to go with Amorim, though. I'm going to say she's going to get the win. I think it's going to go the distance. It's going to be a kind of long rolling fight, but I'm going to say Amorim gets the decision on this one. All right, next fight up, we got Kanglie Zhu taking on Rodrigo Vera in the featherweight division. Vera is going to be your minus 135 favorite, while Zhu is going to be your plus 10 underdog. All right, what we like about Zhu, he's 3-0 in the UFC, undefeated, coming off a split decision win against, I'm going to screw this name up, Big G. That happened in May. He's riding a 5-fight win streak, and also he's never been KO'd or TKO'd before. 57% KO rate. So basically, out of his 21 wins, he's got 12 stoppages, okay? If you guys have watched him fight before, you really got to look out for his overhand right and his left hook, okay? Those carry some legit KO power. Definitely can KO you with one shot, and that's what he's looking to do, okay? Also, what I really liked about him is his timing and his pace in exchanges, okay? When you watch his road to UFC fights, he can really, really pace himself, and he's really selective about his shots. He's not really a big volume guy, but he's definitely looking to chin check you in counters, okay? He uses body kicks consistently, and throughout the fights, he's trying to, pretty much chip away at your midsection. Downside about him, not really a big grappling guy. 0 submission wins in 21 professional fights, okay? He's kind of one-dimensional in that aspect. If you can neutralize his striking, he's in some big trouble, okay? Also, his grappling defense still to be tested, especially at the UFC level. He's got 1 submission loss in his record, and, he was able to stuff some takedown attempts during his road to UFC fights, but, if you can get him to the ground, you can almost hold him there, okay? Big thing is, again, a lot of these KOs and a lot of these knockouts, they're all on the Chinese regional circuit. Okay, so it's basically, I don't think he has a finish yet in terms of, no, he doesn't. He doesn't have a finish yet in any of his UFC fights. He's 3-0, but they're all decisions. So still looking for that one sweet knockout, at least when it comes to UFC. Vera, on the other hand, this is his UFC debut, boys. He is riding a 13-win streak. Okay, shoot the boxing guy. Really good, sharp boxing combos, good forward pressure. He excels at crowding his opponents, disrupting their rhythm, and really imposing his pace and kind of taking the fight to where he wants to go, right? He's very versatile, too. He's got 8 KOs and 3 submissions across 21 wins, literally, kind of dangerous from everywhere. Elite, again, he's got, like I said, kind of like Zhu, he's got that regional track record that's really, really good. Bolster his stats, 13-fight win streak, FFC champion with 4 title successful defenses. He can outwork people too. He's got good pace, just like I said. He's got a good gas tank. I think his last fight that he won was via decision. Biggest thing for him is going to be the size and the reach. Okay, he's 5'7" with only a 70-inch reach advantage. He's got disadvantage when it comes to like the intangibles and the physicals. Also, he's taking this fight on 3 weeks' notice. There's no really, it's kind of hard to game plan for somebody with that short of notice. So, I don't think he's going to tailor his camp too much to it. And Zhu is kind of the guy that you don't want to fuck with when it comes to not having a game plan because he will knock you out. And again, we've yet to see if he's like in the elite company, elite tier of fighters in the featherweight division. This one's going to be tough. I'm going to say Zhu on this one just because he is a late round replacement. Vera's a late round replacement. Zhu's had a full camp, and he's got some power in his hands. So I'm taking the underdog in this one. I'm going to say though it's going to go. I'm still thinking Zhu's going to continue his streak of riding fights out, and it's going to go the distance. But I'm going to say Kanglie Zhu win by decision. Our next fight up is Xiong versus Angela Hill, number 14 ranked strawweight. Xiong is a -225 favorite, while Hill is a +185 underdog. All right, let's go to Xiong first right off the bat. This is her UFC debut, riding a 5-fight winning streak. She's never been TKO'd or KO'd. If you guys haven't been familiar with her, look at her highlights, man. She's got some serious power, and she is throwing with some bad intentions, okay? She began boxing when she was 18. She's part of the national team as a member of the Shandong women's boxing team. She represented China, obviously. She wasn't always, I think she was an atom weight before, but man, she's got some good combinations, man. She's got a 57% KO rate, 11 KOs in 19 of her wins, okay? She's finished opponents at every level. Very, very good, quick early stoppages in regional scenes. And, again, if you watch at her fights, her left hook and her right straight, dude, they're going to put you down to the ground. I don't care. She's got some power. Very good evolved striking, good fight IQ. She throughout her career, she was like a kind of in the early, she was like a brawler, with, take one to give one. But now she's really like a cerebral tactician in that effect, right? Taking a more measured approach. She's adding kicks to her game, good footwork, and really snapping her jab instead of just swinging for the fences with hooks. Also sets up body work pretty good as well. Knock on her, though, is she's making her UFC debut at 38 years old, okay? True, Angela Hill is older, too, but still, And she's got a lot of inactivity. I think she's had one fight in 3 years. She's only competed once between March 2023 and then May of 2025. She does have submission vulnerability. She has one loss in her record, and that's when she moved up from atom weight and she fought Angela Lee, excuse me. And Lee is a world-class grappler if you've never seen her fight. Angela Hill, on the other hand, what's not to say about Angela Hill? She is the perennial litmus test at the strawweight division. All right, she's 13-16. She's coming off a unanimous decision loss against Fatima Klein, and that happened in November. I mean, this pretty much says if you can beat Angela Hill, then you can hang around in the strawweight division. If you can't beat her, then fucking take your bags back to wherever you just came from, or you're going to be in the back of the line, right? Hill's riding a 2-fight losing streak. She's got really good striking volume. She averages about 5 significant strikes per minute. It's one of the highest outputs in the strawweight division. Still training under Dominic Cruz in the Alliance Fighter system. So if she's got that Dominic Cruz, those feints really good. She lowers her feet, feinting toward her opponent, then pulling back. She's really good at baiting opponents to strike and then using her counters to her advantage. In terms of big strength for her, she fights for head position really good in the clinch, and she delivers very, very hard elbows and knees while denying her opponent, to gain advantage. And then again, it's unmatched UFC experience. She's fought 29 times under the UFC banner. I mean, that's legit. I mean, I don't give a shit who you are. I mean, she's fought the best of the best. There hasn't been too much she hasn't seen. Again, age is a factor. She's 41 years young. And she's super, super infrequent when it comes to wins and losses. Chronic decision losses. She rarely finishes when she's on top position. 88% of her losses come by decision. So she really wins by accumulating damage and volume rather than just straight up finishing her opponent. Again, her training can kind of be her downfall too. Feigning toward Xiong and then kind of dropping the level creates brief moments when she gets into range, and that is something you do not want to get with Xiong, especially with her crazy hands. Okay, she's got a boxer. She can and she's definitely got better striking than Angela Hill. So I'm going to say Xiong wins this one. It's going to go the distance. If anybody's looking to prop this bet or literally work it into your parlays, I know I'm going to work it into mine. I'm saying this fight is going to go the distance 100%. I'm going to say Xiong is going to get this one done by decision straight up. All right, next up we got Ray Tsuruya taking on Luis Gurule in a flyweight bout. Tsuruya is 1-1 in the UFC. He's coming off unanimous decision to none other than Joshua Van that happened back in March. Boys, I like Tsuruya here. I mean, he's got world-class, unorthodox wrestling, really, really good, an internationally competitive wrestler, uses arm throws really well, really technically precise for takedown entries, and, again, his road to UFC, he got 12 takedowns against opponents. Also really good at ADCC, or when it comes to ADCC, his BJJ is pretty good too. He was relentless for submission hunting, okay? He was the ADCC junior champion, 4 career submission wins. Again, good chain attacks too, whether it's going to be a rear naked choke to the Kimura. Once he's got you on the ground, he is looking for that finished, okay? Extraordinary cardio, good takedown volume. Against Joshua Van, he shot 21 times. Unfortunately, I think he only got 11 of those. But anyway, he was still doing for 3 full rounds. He was not running out of gas. Okay, really one of the highest outputs when it comes to takedowns in the division. Okay, multi-discipline sports pedigree. In terms of combat sports, whether it's wrestling, BJJ, or sambo, he did them all before the age of 18. Big thing for him, though, while his wrestling and submission skills are on point, his striking is super severely underdeveloped, okay? Against Van, his striking pretty much only consisted of his left hand and very, very little else, Van used, good cage cutting and good footwork, and, he was able to just pretty much dictate the fight where Van wanted to go. That's why he's so good, obviously. That's why he's the champion, okay? Positional control doesn't translate to damage yet either. Now, he might get you to the ground and kind of look for submissions, but he's yet to really, really capitalize on ground and pound or strikes from top position, okay? He's just kind of getting you there and controlling you. He's not really pulling off really, really good damage and making the judge see that he's coming, that he's really trying to hurt you with some intent, okay? Again, if he's ineffective when it comes to takedowns, his game plan is fucked, okay? Reading it again, Joshua Van was able to stuff not 11, 17 of his takedowns he was able to stuff. And that kind of, obviously, that frustrated Tsuruya. But, again, Van was not able to finish him, too. So he's got a really good chin. Gurule, on the other hand, he's 2-3 in the UFC. Late replacement. He just fought in May. He got a unanimous decision win against Daniel Perez. Gurule himself is a pretty good wrestler too. He's never been submitted. I think he was like a D2 wrestler, good Colorado State champion. Basically, his wrestling is not. This is where the debate comes in. Is it better than Tsuruya's? In my opinion, no. I mean, I think he's a good wrestler. He's good enough in the UFC, but I think Tsuruya's got the better background. Also for Gurule, really good relentless pressure. He does not stop coming. And okay, he's really good when it comes to, he wants to get you down in the 15 minutes that it's allotted. Okay, he's good at creating fatigue in his opponents. If you're not able to defend his takedowns, that's exactly where he wants the fight to go. Okay, really good at top control and ground and pound. Big knock on him is he's hittable. Okay, he absorbs too much damage when he tries to close the distance. His striking defense is really not as good as what it needs to be, okay? And, when he's trying to take you down, he's really telegraphing his entries, okay? That's his core tactical problem. He shoots from a neutral standing position, and it's not off of combinations or anything like that. Also, what I noticed is that he's got good, his leaves his legs open to get kicked. Super vulnerable in that, especially his lead leg, okay? If you can compromise his lead leg, his takedowns are really, really going to be denied, okay? It's really going to be hard coming off of that front foot. I'm going to say Tsuruya gets this one done. I'm going to say it's going to be in submission. I'm going to say it's second round submission. All right, next up, we got Cody Haddon taking on Qileng in the bantamweight division. Haddon is your minus 350 favorite, while Qileng is a plus 275 underdog. Haddon is 1-0 in the UFC. He's coming off a good unanimous decision win against Dan Argueta. For those who didn't know, Haddon is an amateur Australian boxing champion. Really, really good fundamentals when it comes to boxing. Good crisp combinations, really good footwork, and good head movement too. He's really, really, obviously developed over time the proper boxing mechanics, okay? Really good elite finish rate too, 87%. 7 out of his 8 wins are coming by TKO or KO wins. I think he has one of, if not the fastest KO in MMA or Australian MMA history, right? Good grappling versatility too. He can find the back when his striking isn't working, and also he can transition pretty well. I think he's got 2 rear naked choke wins. One of his rear naked choke wins was against Billy Brand that happened on his Dana White Contender Series fight. The big thing is, he's severely limited in UFC experience, right? He's had 1 fight in the UFC, and that happened in, what did I say, October of 24? So 19 months without having a fight is a long, long time. Again, that's no fault of his own. Injuries happen. We all get it, Again, people can bolster their records over the regional circuits, not taking anything away from Haddon, but again, if you've not fought UFC caliber fighters, it's a whole different tale, okay? We've seen it time and again with guys come in here from the Contender Series. They look good, but once they fight a guy who's had some fights under their belt in the UFC, it's a whole different tale, okay? Qileng, also, he's got 38 professional fights, man, to Cody's 10. So that's a very big difference in experience level. Cody Haddon has yet to face a guy who's really good in forward pressure and a high volume guy, which Qileng is. This is exactly this could be the kryptonite to Haddon too. Okay, a guy who's really high volume, high pace. We're going to see how he handles sustained pressure from an elite level guy. So that's going to be a big test for him coming into this fight. Qileng, on the other hand, he's 4-4-1, coming off a good TKO win against Cody Gibson that happened in October. He's never been finished before either in terms of a TKO or a KO, okay? He's got good explosive KO power. He's got 9 first-round finishes, 9 career TKOs, and he's got some legit tools when it comes to ending the fight, okay? Again, the Gibson fight, he ended that one in 21 seconds. So what we talked about already, but we're going to, re-harp on it, is he's got good relentless forward pressure. He uses constant forward momentum to cut the cage off. He denies his opponent's angles and really imposes his physical pressure. He's good at, again, he's walking down these guys, again, taking away their weapons, okay? Unfortunately, he does have some submission vulnerability. He's been submitted a couple times in his career, especially when guys take his back. He's kind of really vulnerable for the rear naked chokes. He's got kind of that brawler mentality. He's going to take a couple to give a couple. Really absorbs a high volume of strikes, and can get worked when it comes to outworked, when it comes to the scorecards. I think 8 of his 12 career losses are by decision. So if it's guys who can out grapple him and take him to the ground, that is not where he wants to go. Okay, fighters who can literally control him through various grappling techniques and or positions, i.e. whether it's against the cage or whether they take him down for trips. He has a really, really hard time stopping that. Okay, again, and then the last thing I saw is he's got that predictable right hand entry, right? His knockout sets up, he really sets everything up via his right hand is going to be the finishing thing. He sizes people up and he, reads moments of commitment from the opponent, and then he tries to fire that straight right. Guys can prepare against that. Cody Haddon, like I said, he's got good boxing techniques. If he's able to read that and adjust to that, Henrique Long is going to be for some big trouble. I'm going to go with the underdog on this one. I'm going to say Henrique Long gets this one done via second round TKO. I just say this because Haddon, now it could be, again, we're going to find out May 30th, but dude, 19 months is a long time to be off, okay? Ring rust is a very, very real thing. And Henrique Long's got some serious KO power, man. He's not going to try to wrestle you. He's not going to try to submit you. He's going to go for your soul. So we're going to see. I'm going to say this is one of the ones that I like, I really think odds makers are putting too much on Haddon, but we're going to find out. So this is my upset of the week. Henrique Long, second round TKO. All right, on to the welterweight division. We got Meng Ding taking on Jose Henrique Souza. Ding is a minus 130 favorite, while Souza is a plus 110 underdog. Ding he's 0-1 in the UFC, but he's got that elite knockout power. 27 KOs out of his 35 wins, right? That's 77%, boys. I mean, this dude, he has got some fucking power, man. Really, really good at hunting finishes, okay? Not to mention, for a welterweight, he's a big dude. He's 6'2", 75-inch reach. He's more like a middleweight than he is a welterweight. And he's definitely got the reach advantage over Souza, okay? Good for, he's good straight punches from the outside. He's really makes it hard for guys to counterpunch, obviously. Good veteran poise. Like I said, 44 professional fights. Dude, he's seen a lot of scenarios inside that cage. So it's not too much he hasn't seen. But again, across 11 years of competition, he's good to go, okay? Again, another thing that we see constantly, we'll see from these fights in Macau is that these, like I'm saying, a lot of first-round finishes, a lot of finishes to bolster up these guys' stats, but they're all regional, guys. So the UFC caliber opponent is really not there, okay? He's got 4 submission losses. This is basically, they got a significant pattern when it comes to this. Once opponents get him to a mat and establish dominant position, he really struggles to escape and, kind of get the fight to the feet. If you looked at his other fights, his striking accuracy is not the best I've ever seen too. I think he's it's below 50%. I want to say it's around 41% in terms of his striking accuracy. So it can be avoided, it can be denied if you study the tape correctly, but we'll see what Souza's going to do. Souza, on the other hand, this is his UFC debut. What a debut to come into, okay? He's never been submitted. Very, very good gym that he trains out. I think it's like Elite Nova. That's where Jose Aldo trained out of, Vitor Belfort, Ketlin Vieira. He's got really, really good elite coaching, world-class sparring partners, and basically, that if he wants to take a fight to the ground, he definitely can, okay? But, also, we're talking about size. Freaking, he's 6'3", a 6'3" welterweight. So that, he's going to kind of nullify the reach of Meng Ding out. His clinch striking, again, could be a problem. I see, if Ding puts him in a clinch, he's got some problems, especially eating elbows and knees. He did get he does have a KO loss, and it's not like a grueling 3-round KO. He has literally got knocked the fuck out in 43 seconds. Actually, I take that back. He got knocked out in round 3 in 43 seconds. That was in the Contender Series in 2022. I mean, it's 4 years ago, but again, he can be knocked out. And despite a really, really good, solid jiu-jitsu base and solid jiu-jitsu coaching, he doesn't have any submission wins, really just uses kind of that's like a good base, but he's really trying to finish you on the feet. I don't see him hunting too much for a submission in this one. So I'm going to say Ming Ding takes this one. I'm going to say he's going to get this one, maybe second round TKO. I think this is a good one for him to bounce back on. So Ding for a second round KO on that one. All right, next up, we got Luis Felipe Diaz taking on Yizak Lee in the middleweight division. Diaz is your minus 170 favorite, while Lee is your plus 140 underdog. All right, Diaz is 1-0 in the UFC, coming off a really good sub win against Donovan Hedrick that happened back in October. Riding a good 3-fight win streak, good balanced finishing ability. 8 KO wins, 8 sub wins, really rare for a fighter when it comes to this, when he's multidimensional like that. What I liked about him, he's got a good clinch to grappling system, right? Really closes the distance, forward pressure, forces the guy up to the cage, good tie clinch, and then he's taking you down. This matchup really favors really suits his grappling game pretty well. Zach Lee's only career loss has come by a rear naked choke submission, and he's a judo guy, so he's going to try to, obviously judo guys love that grip on your wrist and try to do the trips and throws. So if Diaz can capitalize that, I like Diaz all day, okay? The big thing against him is, again, it's quality concerns. I think Dana White even voiced this, he goes, even though, he only had 17 strikes landed when he was in this Contender Fight Series win, okay? He wasn't really dominating that much, but, we'll see. He's definitely KO vulnerable. Okay, he's got 2 career losses against guys. Zach Lee basically, that guy can throw too. Okay, low striking accuracy, like we said. Okay, 39% accuracy. I think he was 1 of 18 when it comes to his Dana White Contender Series fight. So he's definitely got some growing to do. Okay, but he's only 1-0 in the UFC. So we're gonna cut him some slack. Okay, we're not sure where the ceiling is yet for him. Yizak Lee, on the other hand, this is his UFC debut, boys. Okay, he's riding a 2-fight win streak. He's never been TKO'd or KO'd. Like I said, really good elite judo background. Good hip throws, good foot sweeps, body locks, really good stylistically when it comes to wrestling and when it comes to that. For ground and pound, dude, he is a force to be reckoned with. Okay, once he gets on top, he is coming for your soul. He's got 4 KO wins, and they're all coming from when he's on mount. Okay, really good. Judo throw to the ground. Once he gets good position, these punches are coming down the pipe, and they're coming down fucking from the heavens, looking for your soul. 26, really good on the youth side. Ceilings, yet to be decided. I think he's one of the youngest middleweights debuting, actually. Like I said, submission vulnerability. He does have 2 rear naked chokes. Oh, no, sorry. He's 1 rear naked choke on his record, okay? Not really a good pure striker in the terms of, like, just keeping it standing, okay? It's still developing. All the wins are, like I said, if he's good with his judo, he can get you to the ground. That's really, he's really looking to KO you. In terms of, like, keeping it standing, that is not in his game plan at all, at least not at this time. It's still really developing, okay? Like I said, his striking is basically a means to get you to the ground, okay? And then, I don't know why they let this leak, but his own camp was, like, kind of tentative or not they're like, I don't know if he's really ready for the UFC or not, but, we'll see. Hey, he got the invite, so we might as well take it. I have absolutely I don't know what that does to a fighter's confidence level, but why in the fuck would you say that is beyond me. Anyway, we're going to go Diaz on this one. I think his ground game is going to be a little bit too much for Yizak Lee. I think he's going to get it done via submission. That's what I see going into this one. So Diaz, round 2 submission. All right, we are on to the main card. Okay, kicking things off, it's going to be in the flyweight division. Number 11, Alex Perez is taking on Mudaerji. Perez is your minus 145 favorite. Mudaerji is your plus 120 underdog. All right, Perez, 12-7 in the UFC, coming off a pretty good TKO win against Charles Johnson. That happened in January. All-American wrestling, good All-American wrestler, good wrestling base, collegiate. I think he went to West Hills College, wherever that is, but really good wrestler, okay? He mixes double legs really well when he transitions from his striking. Really good cage-based takedowns as well, okay? Also, what I liked about him is his calf kick system. He uses heavy calf kicks. That's his primary, entry tool to these takedowns, okay? Really good at slowing his opponent's footwork down, reducing their mobility, and again, good takedown entries as well off of those, okay? He's got some one-punch KO power too. He's got 7 career KOs across 36 fights, so he's He definitely has an equalizer when he wants to use it. He can definitely, I don't know if he can catch Mudaerji with that, but Mudaerji's got to definitely respect his power. Okay, uh, even though he's a good college wrestler, he has got catastrophic submission vulnerability. He's got 6 career losses. Out of his 10 career losses, 6 of them are coming by submission. Right. It really reflects, his grappling tools need to be, against elite guys, they are not where they need to be. Okay. Disadvantage when it comes to the intangibles. He's 5'6", 65-inch reach. Okay. He's one of the smallest flyweights that they have in the division. It's definitely against, it's going to be a disadvantage. Mudaerji's 5'8", 72-inch reaches, so he's going to give up about, 6.5 inches of reach. Okay. Uh, Again, when fighters take him to the third rounds, that's kind of where we see most of his submission losses coming. When he gets tired, he makes mistakes. If people can drag him into, or his opponents can drag him into deep water, that's where he's going to suffer. Mudaerji, on the other hand, another middle of the road guy. He's 9-7 in the UFC. He's coming off a unanimous decision win against Jesus Santos Aguilar that happened back in March. But I think he's kind of finding his own. He's riding a 3-fight win streak. He's really riding high. If he beats Alex Perez, he can definitely break into at least 13 to 15, right? Elite reach for a flyweight. Like I said, he's got 72 reach advantage, and that's very, very significant for a guy who's 125 pounds. He's kind of more built like a lightweight than he is a flyweight, if you ask me. But really good high volume striker, averages 4 to 5 strikes, significant strikes a minute. Definitely one of the highest when it comes to the flyweight division. Okay. He's a southpaw too, which I like. Really good at setting up his jabs from unorthodox angles. Really, and also if I can talk, I swear. He can create a scoring advantage too, when he just sets up that jab. Really pretty middle of the road accuracy, I'd say. I think it's like 52% accuracy. But very, very good KO rate. 13 KOs and 19 victories, okay? Really, really good, okay? But it's not unlike Perez. Perez has got that one-shot power. His is more accumulation and volume, okay? Very, 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 wants to break you down, more Nick Diaz-ish, if you will. Really, accumulates those shots, okay? Really good takedown defense. 71% takedown defense. That is well above the flyweight average. Really, really good for his size. If you can't get him down, you are in for a long, long night, okay? Much like Perez, though, 6 of his 7 career losses all come by submission, okay? He is not that good. Mudaerji's got a lot left to be desired on the mat, okay? If you can get him down there and you can control him, he is fucked, okay? Also, ground and pound vulnerability too. He's not, it's really hard for him to get up off his feet. And that's where Alex Perez is, that's his bread and butter. If he can take you down and you can't get him off you, he is going to fucking make you eat those fucking punches, okay? Especially he's going to accumulate them over time, okay? And again, like we already talked about, not a power puncher. He's, like we said, he's got good KOs, but again, if you got a good chin and you can withstand the damage, then, you can outlast him. I'm going to say, but, again, we're going to ride high with Mudaerji on this one just because he's on a 3-fight win streak. I think he's really found his stride in the flyweight division. I think he's coming into his own. So I don't think he's going to get the finish on Perez. I think this is going to go distance, but Mudaerji for the win on this one. Goes the distance. All right, next up in the welterweight division, we got Carlston Harris taking on Jake Matthews. Okay, Carlston Harris is your plus 240 underdog, while Matthews is your minus 300 favorite. Carlston Harris is a late fight replacement. Jake Matthews, on the other hand, he's really looking to get back on his winning ways. He had that, depending on you saw it, he got that submission loss to Neil Magny. He appealed it, didn't win the appeal, but either way, Matthews was on a little bit of a hot streak prior to that Neil Magny loss. And Neil Magny is like, dude, he's like the timeless wonder, man. He also a parlay killer, if you will, too. But anyway, Jake Matthews, he's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, 9 submission wins in a 22 career victory. But I think his black belt's under Carlos Vera. Really, really good takedowns in terms of, finding this, especially in those last couple fights, man. He's really looking good for finding those submissions, okay? Really looks for that front headlock guillotine system. If he can get that front headlock, that's his most dangerous position, okay? He nearly finished Magny when he had that front headlock, and they almost got him into the guillotine. Again, you can't match his UFC experience either. He's got 22 appearances I think he's at 31 years of age. You know, he knows how to read cage positioning, really manages range really well, and he adjusts to his fighter's game plan mid-fight. So his fight IQ is pretty solid, good to go. On the other hand, even though he's a BJJ black belt, he still has 4 career submission losses. Okay, you know, even elite, you know, if you're even though he's a black belt, if you're an elite grappler, you know, I think you're going to be a step above Jake Matthews. Not saying that Jake Matthews is shitty on the ground per se, but there's definitely guys like a level above him too. Okay, uh, you know, when he's hunting for these submissions, he definitely leaves himself open for counters to be outstruck. You know, sometimes he gives up submissions, position for submissions. You know, he can be swept as we've seen in the past. You know, he creates these, you know, vulnerable spots. He leaves his neck exposed and can get caught a couple of times. Okay, the big thing for him is, you know, has he reached his ceiling at 31 years of age? You know, Jake Matthews has never won against the ranked fighter before. Generally, he's been always the bridesmaid, never the bride. He's really struggling to get into that top 15. So, but I think he's going to be looking good to get a bounce back against Carlston Harris. Carlston Harris is 4-3 in the UFC, coming off of a TKO loss against Santiago Ponzinibbio that happened in January 25, and he's riding a 2-fight losing streak as well. He's never been submitted, which is pretty solid, and he's got pretty solid elite physical attribute. He's 76-inch reach advantage. I think it's the longest in the UFC welterweight division, so he's definitely good at keeping dudes at range, okay? Luda Livre black belt, if you ever looked at his anaconda choke is something that you do not want to be caught in, man. He's got 6 career submission wins when it comes to that, okay? Very respected Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I don't think Jake Matthews has got this, you know, I don't think if Jake Matthews subs him, you know, fucking Jake Matthews is you know, front of the class when it comes to BJJ. Very going to be very respected. Okay. Matt Harris, on the other hand, his striking is really yet to be desired. Still developing. Okay. You know, he's still, you know, it's better than, he's just not one dimensional at this point. He's still got some striking chops, but he's still got a ways to go. Okay. Definitely KO vulnerable. 4 of his 7 losses have come by KO or TKO. So if you're a power puncher and you can find his jaw, you are going to put him to sleep, no doubt. Also, he's older than Jake Matthews too. He's 38 years old. Okay, so age is not on his side. You know, even though he might be able to see the punches coming, he might not. You know, reaction time obviously goes away with age. You know, 14 years fighting, it adds up over the long run. I'm going to say Jake Matthews wins this one. I'm going to say this one goes the distance. I obviously think Jake Matthews is not known for his striking power, but I think he can out-wrestle Carlston Harris on the ground. I think he can control him throughout the 3 rounds. Harris is going to be good enough to, you know, thwart his submission attempts, but I don't think he's going to be able to good enough to thwart him on the ground in terms of, like, you know, getting it back to his feet. So Jake Matthews, decision win on this one. All right, next up in the bantamweight division, we got Kai Asakura taking on Cameron Smotherman. All right, Asakura is your overwhelming favorite with a -300, and Smotherman is a +240 underdog. All right, Asakura had a lot of hype coming in from Ryzen. You know, he's a former bantamweight champ over there. Right now, he's 0-2 in the UFC, and he just lost a submission loss to Tim Elliott that happened in August, and he's riding a 2-fight losing streak. I mean, on the plus side, if you really look at his fights, he's really a good dominant striker, especially like in round 1. He outworked Pantoja, outworked Tim Elliott, and he did it pretty convincingly, like I said, in round 1. His striking is very competitive, especially with the top guys at that time in the flyweight division, okay? You know, against Smotherman, who has like 0 takedown offense, very is not like anti-wrestling. You know, I think he's got dominant stand-up in that regard. You know, he's definitely way higher skill level as well, too. He's got elite karate-based striking, Zendu Kai karate belt. He's a black belt in that. If you look at it, it focuses a lot on like spinning techniques, oblique strikes, and really like comes from unorthodox angles, which complement his right hand. I think he's got about like a 61% KO rate, which is pretty good. But again, we had not seen that yet in the UFC, and we're really hoping he gets this one off. You know, he's returning to his natural weight, which is a bantamweight, which is good. Unfortunately, his ground game is fucking horrible, okay? His bottom position grappling against UFC level wrestlers is just, there is none. He has the hardest time getting back up to his feet, and basically any wrestling credentials that he has are 0 in existence, okay? Also, what I've noticed too in his last 2 fights, Guys really telegraph, when he telegraphs these body kicks so bad, when he goes, he gets taken down almost every other body kick he delivers, especially when he fought Tim Elliott. If anybody studies his film, that's exactly the tell that they're looking for, okay? And he accepts being in guard too much. Against Tim Elliott, he seemed like, he was cool with just being in closed guard rather than scrambling to his feet. Cameron Smotherman, on the other hand, he's 1-2 in the UFC. He's riding a 2-fight losing streak. Yeah, just lost to Ricky Simone back in June of last year. But, I'll give him credit. He's a fearless, short notice competitor, man. Of, all the fights, I think he's accepted 3 of his 4 UFC fights are, no, sorry, 2 of his 3 UFC fights on short notice, and, especially against Ricky Simon, it was like the same week turnaround. This is his first fight he's gonna have a full camp preparation, literally, again, full camp preparation, a lot of time to watch film, a lot of time to digest what's coming at you. He's going to get his cardio up, so that's really going to look good for him. But again, on the negative side, he has 0 UFC takedown attempts. That's fucking 0, okay? He's really one-dimensional. He's always looking to trade and bang with his opponents. And that is something that you do not want to do against Kai Asakura, especially that he's got such a, advantage on the stand-up game. In all 3 fights of his UFC career, they've all gone to decision. He's yet to put away somebody. One, his gas tank is good, but again, he's not shown any respectable finishing ability in that regard. And then, again, against Kai Asakura, we are seeing a massive experience gap in this matchup, okay? Kai Asakura, he's a proven MMA champion in another promotion in Ryzen. Smotherman is barely making a splash in the UFC, so he's really going to have to step up his game if he wants to win this. I'm going to say Kai Asakura wins this one, round 1, TKO. I think he's going to come back with a vengeance. This is his natural weight, so he's going to have a little bit better power in his hands. He doesn't have to cut as much weight. So Kai Asakura, round 1, TKO. All right, next up in the heavyweight division, we got number 3 is Sergey Pavlovich taking on number 15 ranked Taliesin Teixeira. Pavlovich is another heavy favorite. He's a minus 525 favorite, and Taliesin Teixeira is a plus 375 underdog. All right, Pavlovich, he's 8-2 in the UFC. He's coming off a great unanimous decision win against Waldo Cortez Acosta that happened in August. He's riding a 2-fight win streak, and literally he has never been submitted during his time in the MMA. Really good record as far as round 1 finishes goes. He's got 15 first-round finishes, and which is literally staggering. I don't care what weight class you have. He's got elite reach, 84-inch reach advantage, compared to guys who are about 4 to 6 inches taller than him. Taliesin Teixeira, though, I don't know, that's not going to really weigh too much. Taliesin Teixeira is a big guy. I think Taliesin Teixeira is like 6'7". Also, what I like about Sergey Pavlovich, he's a southpaw. Look for his long, straight lefts. That's pretty much one of those, best punches that he throws. It's really difficult to defend, especially when it comes from these unusual angles and guys aren't really expecting it, okay? Also, what I love about him too, I know Taliesin Teixeira, that's his, his leg locks, that's in his arsenal. He loves going for those submissions. Sergey Pavlovich has elite takedown defense. Okay, his Greco-Roman foundation really sets him up for not being able to be taken down. We've seen that time and again, especially when he fought Curtis Blades. So the big thing is, he is on a finish drought. He has not had a finish since November 2022. Okay, that's 3.5 years. Again, he's had really good KO. I mean, before that, he was KOing people left and right, but he's just, he's struggling to finish a fight. I don't know if he's going to do it with Taliesin Teixeira. I mean, Taliesin Teixeira got his, bell rung by Derek Lewis, but, I don't know if Sergey Pavlovich just packs that much power. Also, 0 offensive grappling from Pavlovich as well. Very one-dimensional. I know, like I said, he's got that Greco-Roman background, but he never uses it. He wants to stay on the feet, and that's where he thinks his strengths are. Well, doesn't think, that's where he knows his strengths are. Out of 23 professional fights, I don't think I've seen him try to get a takedown. Okay, and then of course another big thing for him is his decision losses. Those kind of go later in the rounds. He doesn't have a sense of urgency in late round 3. He kind of coasts, but again, it's his decision. His wins, like the last couple, they're like gritty in terms of he just gets over the edge. It's not really in dominant fashion. So again, Taliesin Teixeira, I know he's ranked 15, and he's just making his way into the rankings. But if you fuck with him and you don't take him seriously, he will definitely get you on the ground and tap you out. Tachira's, he's 3-1, coming off unanimous decision win against Tai Tuivasa. That happened in January. He's never been submitted as well. Coming off a win against Tai Tuivasa doesn't really speak volumes to me. I know Tai Tuivasa, he is, very, very big fan favorite. I'm a big fan of, but in his last couple fights, man, he has not looked the same. All right. Looking back at it, Talashin Teixeira, I said he was 6'8". He's actually 6. I said he was 6'7". He's 6'8" with an 83-inch reach advantage. Definitely taller than Sergey Pavlovich, obviously. Very good intangible right there. Can keep him at range, try to get out of the range of his power. Very good striking volume from Talashin Teixeira, too. He gets about 5 significant strikes a minute, and he's got 59% accuracy. So he's going to hit you most of the time when he's looking at you, okay? It's actually one of the highest outputs in the UFC heavyweight division. Very, very good volume. He does have 7 KO wins to his credit. He can finish people with his knees, his elbows, and I look like he's got a pretty good straight punch. But again, his big thing as far as the UFC goes have been taken down and get those leg locks. Very, very, very good BJJ black belt. 3-time BJJ champion, Brazilian BJJ champion. Basically, if you do not, again, I can't echo this enough. Sergey Pavlovich does not want to go to the ground with Talashin Teixeira. Big thing, though, is with his chin, like I said, Derek Lewis knocked him out in 35 seconds, okay? If Pavlovich can find that power again like he had back 3 years ago, he's going to get smoked, okay? Not to mention, Talashin Teixeira has only had 4 UFC fights. This is a huge step up in competition. This is literally going against the number 3 ranked guy in the world, okay? This is not some guy he's not going against some guy who's, just trying to get into the rankings. He's not even fighting like a bottom 10 guy. You know what I mean? This is number 3. So big, big step up in competition. So we'll see where his head's at. I know he does have a good amount of volume, like we said, 5 significant strengths, but he definitely leaves him open to get countered, which I didn't like, and at 6'8", his speed, he doesn't have the speed as he needs to get kind of close the distance against a guy like Pavlovich. His stand-up is still developing in that sense to kind of close the distance and get in tight, but, he does not have a lead, he doesn't close off the cage as well as I'd like him to. I think I'm going to go with Vegas on this one pretty much. Sergey Pavlovich, I think he's going to get it done in round 1, though. Sergey Pavlovich, again, he's taken a little bit of time off, almost, 10 months off at this point. Little time to rest, fill back up the gas tank. I think he's going to find that power again. I think he's going to get put away Talashin Teixeira, I'd say mid-round 1, if not one in the first 30, 45 seconds. So Sergey Pavlovich, KO round 1. All right, up next in the light heavyweight division, we have Zhang Mingyang taking on number 15th ranked Alonzo Menifield. Zhang Mingyang is your minus 235 favorite, while Menifield is a plus 195 underdog. Zhang is 3-1 in the UFC. He's coming off that TKO loss against Johnny Walker. I thought I had Zhang. I not bet the farm on him, but I definitely bet heavy on him. I thought he was going to walk right through Johnny Walker, and that completely surprised me. Zhang's got elite elbow attacks. His signature weapon is really that chopping elbow that he uses from clinch range. Definitely it's like a Sanda move, that Chinese kung fu type of stuff. Very, very good takedown too. He converts opponents' takedowns basically to his opportunistic. He can sweep them and get up on top, which I really like. High level, very, very high level wrestler in that regard. And 100% finish rate. He's never seen the scorecards in 26 professional appearances, okay? Every single fight that he has, it's ended by stoppage, okay? That every one of his wins. Unfortunately, that also goes for every one of his losses too. So his chin has definitely been tested, and it's definitely, if you got enough power to hit it, he's going to sleep, okay? I also like his grounded pound from dominant position. Once he establishes top control, very, very good hips, very hard to get him off you. Very, very good elbow and punch combinations from mount or side control, depending on which one he finds more favorable. Coming forward, though, he does have leg kick vulnerability. Johnny Walker really, really exposed that in his last fight. I think he landed 2 consecutive calf kicks that pretty much collapsed Zhang's base. Any opponents who pretty much systematically target that is a very, very, very big Achilles heel for my boy Xiong. Again, like I said, zero decision wins. He's going out on his shield. Okay, not looking to go to the judges, but again, he looks to brawl. Sometimes he can get countered. Not a big not really good for the scorecard. Not really good for the betting guys. Okay. Sometimes he fights on emotion rather than instinct. And by that, I mean, he lets his aggression and his strength kind of get the best of him. Instead of fighting smart, downloading the data and using his fight IQ, he really looks for those TKOs, which leave him open for counters. And that can really, 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 really hurt his entries, especially if he's over aggressive too. Menafield, on the other hand, he's 10-6-1 in the UFC, coming off a KO loss against Volkan Ozdemir. That happened in November of 25. My boy's got some legitimate KO power, though. 59% finishing rate, and he's got 10 career KOs. Trained by Pat Barry, really, really good right hand and overhand combos. Getting better at this kickboxing game. 76-inch reach, which is good for the intangibles. Zhao is he's 6'2", I think, with a 75-inch reach, so it's not going to be the biggest difference in the whole wide world, but at least he can kind of see the elbows coming and kind of get out of his way and kind of time for those. What I did see is he went back to 4-7 MMA to develop more as striking. Literally, he's getting more patient in there. He's kind of, like I said, trying to get his fight IQ up, really, really improve his head movement, improve his footwork, and cut off the cage a little bit better for his opponents. Out of his last 5 fights, though, he's going to get, he lost by KO 3 of them. Okay. Very, very chinny. That's why I'm really leaning towards Xiong on this one. Again, he's 38 years old. He's accumulated the mileage out of 24 professional fights. Really, his physical abilities have eroded over time. Again, especially his chin durability, like we said. Low striking ability. Low. I didn't like his striking accuracy either. Against Omar Sy, I think he went 34 out of 91 strikes. Okay, that's only 37%. High volume, but he's swinging at nothing. Okay, you can get super, super tired doing that if you're not hitting shit. Okay, and also the last thing is what I noticed is he fades after the early rounds. Come the end of round 2, round 3, he is definitely not the same guy. Doesn't have the best gas tank in the world. I'm gonna go with Xiong on this one. I'm gonna say TKO round 2. I really like him to be come out on top on this one. I think he's got the better striking, and the Menafield is just too chinny for me. All right, we've reached the main event. Okay, in the bantamweight division, we got number 5 ranked Song Yadong taking on number 7 ranked Deiveson Figueiredo. All right, Song Yadong is your highest odds favorite. He's a minus 600, while Deiveson Figueiredo is a plus 425. Song is 11-4-1 in the UFC. He's coming off that unanimous decision loss against Sean O'Malley that happened in January. I don't think he looked too bad in that fight. I really thought he would. I thought he looked a little bit better. I thought he won rounds 2. Round 3 could have gone either way, in my opinion. I guess I see why they gave it to O'Malley, but he looked good, man. He definitely was giving O'Malley a run for his money. He was not dominated at all. If you look back at it, he's got elite leg kicking system. One of the most effective in the bantamweight division. You saw that in the O'Malley fight, right? He literally, O'Malley was not moving as fast as he was in round 3. He was kicking the living dog shit out of his calves. Okay. Very good high striking volume. Lands about 4 significant strikes a minute. One of the higher output rates in the UFC. Very good at combining punching combos, body legs, and leg attacks, which he sustains over 3 rounds. Also, as everybody knows, he trains with Team Alpha Male, a very big product of Uriah Faber. I think under Faber's tutelage, along with the rest of the guys there, he's really been able to integrate wrestling very, very well. Good takedown defense, as well as, kind of add another dimension to his game of takedowns, okay? Unfortunately, as of late, he's really struggled to finish, okay? I think the last time he knocked out Ricky Simon in March of 2024, but then his last 5 fights, it's all gone to decision, okay? He's kind of lost that, not the killer instinct, but if he smells blood in the water, he doesn't take his time, or he takes his time too much. He doesn't rush in. He doesn't try to go for the finish, okay? What we do see is that he loses round 3 against elite oppositions. O'Malley, again, lost, really, really good round 1 and 2. 2 could have gone either way, but in the third, he was disappearing, okay? Looked like he took some time off, and he just didn't look as sharp as he did in round 1 and 2. Also, his takedown defense is still, it's good, but it's not great, okay? Against elite guys, it's really, really, you can definitely find a way to take him down. He's got semi-good takedown defense against average guys. It's around 72%. But against Deiveson Figueiredo, who is a ground guy, who is definitely going to look to take him down, that is going to be a thing to be looking at, okay? His striking accuracy is not as good as I need it to be either. It's 42%. Really reflects missed opportunities. Against somebody like Figgy's, he's got that powerful right hand and he sets up combinations really well so you can get taken down. If he misses those strikes, he's going to get winded. And again, that is not good if he goes into the dog rounds of round 4 and round 5 in the main event. Figueiredo, on the other hand, he's 14-6-1. Okay, he's coming off that unanimous decision loss against Umar Nurmagomedov. I mean, there's nothing to be said about that, dude. I mean, Umar is number one for a reason. The guy's a beast, okay? He just pretty much wrestle fucked Deiveson Figueiredo for the whole fight. Deiveson Figueiredo, he does have elite submission games. Nine career submission wins, including championship level guillotines, really good rear naked chokes, and that's what he's going to be looking to do against Song. Song has zero. Out of 33 fights, I think he has zero submission wins on his record. Okay. Really good right hand. I know it's kind of faded over time. He's got 9 career KOs, especially from like a 5'5" frame. But despite being like a shorter guy, he can still generate really, really good power with that right hand. Very good from the clinch as well, what I like about him. He sets up his submissions really good from the clinch, kind of gets you against the cage, does a good body lock, and looks for the collar ties or the trips to get you down to the ground. Sets up arm triangles really well, which I like. And pretty much he's always going to look for the guillotine from there as well. I know this is a step up from him from flyweight in terms of coming up in weight, but he's kind of proven himself in bantamweight, right? He's 4-1 in the bantamweight. He's beat Cody Garbrandt, Rob Font, Marlon Vera, and Montel Jackson. So he's definitely he can hold his own. It's not that big of a weight discrepancy to me. But the thing is, out of his last 4 fights, he's lost 3 of them, right? The bantamweight division has exposed, Deiveson's limitations in that aspect. The guys I listed, they're good. They're middle of the road guys, but they're not elite. I think Song is literally, he's right there for a championship contender if you can kind of put all the pieces together, right? If it's also the big knock on Figueiredo is that he's kind of dominated when his opponent keeps him at distance. He's, like I said, he's 5'5", so he's one of the smallest guys in the bantamweight division. Against taller, longer guys, they can maintain range at a pretty good pace, and that's going to really neutralize any submission attempt he's going to try to do or any takedown attempt he's going to try to do. I also noticed that since going to bantamweight, the striking volume kind of decreases as well. Not as much as we need him to do, but we'll see. I'm going with Vegas on this one, clear as day. Song Yadong by decision win. I think it's going to go the distance. I don't think Song's got enough to put him out, but I just think he's going to be too quick, and he's going to do a really, really good job at keeping him at distance, especially when he's leg kicking him. So Song Yadong via win by decision. End of the story. All right, everybody, appreciate you sticking around. See how we do on Sunday, and as always, come for the picks, stay for the parlays, baby. See ya!